Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video. This week I'm going to be doing something that I actually put in my sketchbook tour that you guys may have noticed, and it's this little page here which is a character creator collaboration with Instagram and Twitter. Now the whole idea with this, it was a trend quite a while ago. You put up a few ideas for a character design and people vote for their favourite and you create a character with those sort of results. And so this is whatever I put the poll results up for and what people ended up voting for. Overall, Twitter and Instagram had very similar results, and the only difference was instead of a tall character, one wanted small, and they both had long hair, both lived in a cold climate. One was an adventurer, one was a homebody, one used dark magic, one used light magic. They both had bird familiars, were both fairly shy, both had bright hair, both lived in the countryside, and both pretty much wore pastel tones. So it was interesting that the results were very similar, but I tried to create it so that the character designs were very different. And it was kind of interesting because originally I thought people were going to go for different results, and we ended up with these two character designs. So you can see here me writing down the results for Instagram and me sketching out ideas. So one of the ideas I actually originally had was to do a moon witch, because dark magic doesn't necessarily mean like black magic, and so to speak. It could just be like it's they draw on power from a dark source. So I kind of came up with this sort of idea of a character who is a very shy character, perhaps that this destiny has been thrusted upon her, that her whole family are dark magic users. Maybe she's like kind of like the black sheep of the family. And that she has this familiar who constantly berates her, constantly has a go at her. So after I kind of like had this idea, I was sketching out a few sort of ideas for outfits and designs. And since they lived in a cold climate, I knew I really wanted this massive cloak. I watched Frozen 2 recently, and I've been massively inspired by a lot of like Nordic clothing. So I was doing a bit of research into that, and I was trying to give this sort of like country feel to the character. So instead of them, if they were living in a city, they would have quite modernized clothing. I was thinking, okay, what materials are readily available to them, and being able to go from there. So this was sort of like my sketching process and what my final results were. So after I finalised what kind of sketches I want and what kind of characters I want and the colour scheme I was going for, I knew with pastel tones that it can kind of meld together, but I tried to keep it to a very simple colour scheme. And with this one in particular, I used a lot of purples and blues, with a little bit of pink here and there and brown to warm up slight parts of the imagery. I also used some purple ink, acrylic ink, to be able to do the outlines with a dip pen. For the full list of equipment, as always, it is down below. But the whole idea with this character creation process is that you're taking things and you are working with them. So I try to give the character a sort of like shy feel to them. Maybe they're just a little bit more enclosed with themselves, maybe very unsure. I wanted this sort of feeling of like they are very scared and unsure of themselves. And I kind of wanted to juxtaposition with that, with the familiar, almost like berating them, like shouting at them. And I just thought this was a really fun idea. And anyone can do this. I would actually be very interested if people took the same prompt idea and create a character within that sort of aspect. So I would be super interested and kind of would love to challenge you guys in a way to see if you would be interested in doing this character design yourselves, to see what results you would come up with. So for the Instagram character collab, the votes ended up being that the character was tall, had long hair, lived in a cold climate, they were an adventurer, had dark magic, a bird familiar, they were very shy, wore pastel colours, had very bright coloured hair, and countryside. Now for me, bright coloured hair necessarily means that it's not a normal hair colour, so to speak. So not your brown, your blonde, your like orange tones hair, as well as like your pale hair and your darker color hair. There's all colors of spectrum under the sun with hair colors, but bright colored hair means an unusual color. So this is kind of what threw me off a little bit, because in a way I would have loved to have done this character with a brown colored hair, and the reason being is because there is so much pastel tone on this character already. It would have just been really nice to have done a brown tone to sort of like warm that area up, because sometimes with pastel tones, if you're using a bit too much pastel, everything, like all the colors kind of bleed together, and it would have been really nice to have that warm brown to really break up all the pastel tones. But it'd be really interesting to see if you guys would do the same as well. Or what I would really have loved to have done, which was a little bit I wouldn't have been able to do it via poll, unfortunately, because the YouTube system doesn't allow me to do that. But it would have been really cool to have you guys vote for a character design. And if you guys would like to do that, let me know in the comments section down below if you'd be interested. So the first thing I do is I put my colours down with the Pro markers, and Pro markers are just markers that I absolutely adore. I've used them for years. Some of these are drying out now, but bear in mind I've had a lot of these markers for years. And you can see what I mean by it's with the purple hair. If that hair had been like a nice like deep brown against all that purple, I just think it would have just looked so much nicer. But I decided to go with what the people voted, and it was in the end I really did like this character design. I think out of the two, this is possibly my favorite one, and this one took the longest just because her design was a lot more intricate than the second one. I think that's why technically it's my favorite, but I love them both equally, and I really like both designs in a way. But this character definitely needs a name, so it's up to you guys. What name should we give this character? I don't know why, but the name like Kalina like really sings to me at this point. But what do you guys think? What should we name this character? I really love her design an awful lot. I really like the movement that's in here. And when I finished the actual like line work on her, and I finished the quick shading that I did, I was like, something's just missing. So I added like a very simplified background on the back. I almost imagine that this person would like walk around a lot, go on adventures a lot, go and seeking things. Like maybe she goes out and she seeks materials for potions and stuff, so she's a bit of an adventurer, but because she's so like scared and stuff, and I can just imagine this familiar like, what are you doing? You're doing this wrong. Do this correctly. Everything you're doing is incorrect. Stop. But by adding this like really dark purple to the background, it just really made these colours pop so much more. It was definitely a right decision in general for me to do that. And here is the sketch versus the final product. I'm really happy with the design overall in general. There was some things that I would change colour wise, but overall I'm really happy. I just feel, I really hope that I fulfilled most of the criteria for this. It can be quite difficult when you actually think about certain prompts and go from there. But now let's do the next character design. So there wasn't much difference between the Instagram and Twitter polls. With Twitter choosing, and yet again, if you do want to do these prompts and do something with it, you can tag me on Instagram, or you can tag me on Instagram, tag me on Twitter, or link down in the YouTube comments down below. If you do take part, make sure to use the hashtag Stay Creative with Sophiralou, because I have that tag saved so I can see when anyone posts on there. But the main difference between the Twitter and Instagram is that on Twitter, Character Collab, they chose small with very long hair. They lived in a cold climate. They were a bit of a homebody, so they don't really like to go out much. They use light magic. They have a bird familiar. They were shy. They wore pastel tones. They had bright coloured hair. They lived in the countryside. So I very much had an idea of this character straight away. I wanted them to be a very a very person who doesn't really like to go out much, that kind of keeps within themselves. And since they lived in a cold climate, I really wanted them to have a robin familiar. I absolutely love robins. Robins are one of my favourite birds. This is why, in a way, I would love to call her Robin, but you guys can decide what the name should be down below. But I have this sort of idea that she's small, maybe she's a halfling based, which is a race in D&D, which essentially is like a small human with slightly different characteristics. But like maybe when she's running out and about, she always has like these candles lit around her because she's consistently reading. When she walks around, she always has her nose stuck in books and prefers her studies over her over interacting with people. And I really wanted to have this sort of like studious character about her. And I know having glasses is a bit of a cliche for a studious character, but I tried doing the design without glasses, and I just really wanted to add these massive specs to her face because it just made her design so much cuter. So the sort of idea with this, with pastel tones yet again, is we want this very warm climate feel. And I really like this idea that it did with the other one, where they have this gigantic hood that almost represents, in a way, the witch's hat. So necessarily it isn't like a witch's hat, but it has like this sort of like in a way, this character gives me like Little Red Riding Hood vibes, like really gives me that sort of vibes. And I really do love this character, and I totally want to use her in something. I think she's so much fun overall. There would be some things that I would tweak, maybe bring her head down a little bit more instead of up. I had this sort of idea that maybe she suddenly realised that she's been caught up in her books and she's looking up. But I think it would have been better if she was looking down reading the book. This would bring the emotion of shy over a lot more. Maybe instead of her body being so outward, her body should be inward. And this is where I think I failed on bringing the shy trait across. When you're doing a confident versus a shy character, it's all to do with body language, especially when you're trying to bring that character design across. When a character is more confident, they tend to push themselves outwards. And what I mean is their body language oozes confidence. It sort of has like this stance of like, you tend to stretch their chest out a little bit more, and their whole body language is a little bit more upright. Whereas someone who tends to be shy, their body language tends to go inwards. So you tend to crumple in their character design a little bit more by making like the shoulders slightly hunch over, or maybe have them looking down. There's certain character traits that you can portray very easily by changing up the body, and I don't think this was as successfully done overall. I do like the design overall. I think I really love the colours. I did struggle with the hair tone a lot because, yet again, I would have gone for a darker hair tone. I really think like a black hair would have gone really, really well with this, simply because it would have just made those pastel colours pop a lot better. This is just something that with colour theory, it just makes me think about, okay, if you've got very pastel tones in certain areas, sometimes too much pastel can be overwhelming, so you want to either do a very warm tone, because pastel tends to be a lot of cool tones. It just having that juxtaposition with the tones would have just been a lot nicer, especially like dark hair tone would have just made like this character design overall, I think would have made it a lot better. But that's just my personal opinion. I really do enjoy doing character design, and it just makes me very happy, like when I'm doing like this sort of thing, to be able to create like different environments. I had this sort of idea of like when this character's out, they put on all the layers. You know, when you see those children with like so many layers on and they can't walk because they have so many layers. This is what I imagine this character does, because they're like, nope, I don't want to be outside. I'd rather be in. This is not fair. And the Robin familiar is just like flitting around, and like the candles, just like she has them consistently around her so that she always has her reading lights. I don't know, I just thought this was really fun to do, and overall I did really enjoy doing this exercise, and it is a fantastic tool for anyone to use. You can use this to fill in your sketchbook, you can use this to add designs, and it's a really good way of actually, if you are applying for universities or if you're applying to do add something to your portfolio, it's a really good way of expanding your portfolio, especially if you are going into character design for games or for concept art for films, animation, anything like that. Character designs is really important to be able to do a variety of different things, and a person should be able to look at character design and be able to tell their story just by looking at the character design alone. You want a person to be able to look and go, oh, this character is this sort of thing because of X, Y, and Z. It needs to read like that, and this is why this character design unfortunately does not portray the shy trait as much as it should, because her stance on top is too confident. It doesn't elude that shyness that I really wanted. That's where my failure came into department there, but overall I'm really happy. So this is the sketch versus the finalized product. Like I said, I'm really happy with both the designs. Personally, I think I prefer the first one over the second one, but the second one does have a lot of charm. I just think it's because the first one was much more successful at portraying most of the prompts, whereas the second one for me doesn't seem as successful. But, you know, you live and learn, you have to make mistakes to learn from them, and I would understand in the future how I would change this. Literally, by just changing that head angle, I would change so much about this character design. But, you know, it happens and we live and learn. So this is both designs, and overall I had a lot of fun doing this, and I highly recommend this to anyone. Let me know in the comment section down below who your favourite character design is. Do you prefer the Instagram character design, or do you prefer the Twitter one? So it's just a really fun video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always folks, stay creative.